wanted to make this video for a while. I'm a pretty huge Total War fan. Played the original Shogun. So you can see here, this is an old campaign of mine of Shogun 2 I got open. Radius mod. I love best. And I don't know, I feel like with the historical Total Wars, the Creative Assembly has kind of lost their way. And it's been that way for a while. I'll admit the first time like Creative Assembly had really let me down was with Total War Rome 2. I pre-ordered it. That was the last one. I was just so hyped. The hype train entirely left the station. And I have to admit, rarely I've been that hyped since. But they just got a release for the Pharaoh Total War game. That game no one really wanted. So the update is Pharaoh, the Dynasties update. And I mean, a bunch of low-level gaming sites are giving it universal praise on how this marks some great return of the Total War franchise, which is just not true, I think. No one really wanted Pharaoh, and people barely wanted Attila. It felt kind of a tacked-on expansion sold as a standalone game. It was very like Mongol invasion for Shogun Total War. Now, it's no secret really that the franchise has been largely coasting along on the Warhammer IP. And yeah, I enjoyed it, despite my initial skepticism and the usual bugs hampering my gameplay, because I actually like to play the Grand Campaign with my friends. But the historical series I think will largely continue to decline for two reasons. One, because they're picking less interesting settings. Both in terms of like scope and scale. No one is interested really in an Egyptian Total War, say compared to a Medieval 3. And this relates to gameplay, as we can either have one group with reasonably the same technology, uniforms, culture, or units, etc. Like we find more like in the title Medieval 2 or Napoleon. If Medieval 3 was done right and the care for scale like they used to have, it could be an instant hit, really revive the whole franchise, but rather than go for what the fans obviously want, they're just treading ground that nobody's interested in. And Total War used to get bigger and bigger. They were really bold. Take Empire, for instance, with a crazy sized world map, compare that to what came before it. They should stop really pushing further and harder to go larger in that scale, but instead they seem to be going for the smaller scale and partitioning off everything into a DLC that, you know, like what used to be unlock factions as a part of the core gameplay loop then became a DLC. It's not a major issue necessarily in the South, but there used to be a method of play where you'd play your favorite initial faction to completion, appreciate the units of which you are fighting, unlock that faction, and then play that after. And that used to be a real key core gameplay loop of replayability, and it's just not really like that anymore, which is a shame. So at the end of the day, until they stop making games that the fans actually want in the historical kind of vein of it, I just don't think they're really going to gain much traction back. I do hear they're going to have well, they're making an attempt for the Star Wars IP as a Total War game, which, yeah, I'd play that. Of course I'd play that, but will they just then coast off that again as they did prior with the Warhammer IP? I don't know, but it's still not good going for the franchise, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, unfortunately. I mean, you just know by the amount of people playing. Like, mixed 3,000 reviews, I bet. Shogun, just on pure volume of reviews, don't even matter the content of the reviews. Yeah, 10 times as much. That's a 10 times loss in player base. It's ridiculous. So there's demand for good historical Total War out there, but they're just not meeting it. Anyway, that's all I got to say on that. So, have a good one.